Heart of Fire. You'll be in my heart. Chapter 3. The Desguise and Friends. For the next week, Blazing took chocolate to and from Sakura's hut to check on her wounds. While the town was still asleep before sunrise, or inactive, they would slip through the streets. Every now and again, Blazing saw Rainbow Dash flying around when he was sneaking chocolate to the forest. Rainbow is the last pony I want to find out about chocolate now, he thought to himself and looked for another way around the cyan mare. One time, Dash almost caught Blazing sneaking out of town. He barely escaped the chocolate into the forest before Rainbow caught up with them. Now Blazing and Chocolate were at his house. Chocolate's wounds were almost gone, her wings straight and without the board. They were sitting on the couch together drinking hot chocolate while watching an episode of Dr. Who's. Blazing laughed as the doctor stated to his companion that he was not breaking and entering, he was sonicking and entering. Chocolate couldn't help but let out a small giggle at the comment. There was a knock on the door that made the two jump.
"Stripes, I need to talk to you,"
came Rainbow's voice from outside. Blazing leapt to his hooves, looking around the room for a place for Chocolate to hide.
"Come on, Stripes, I know you're here. I can hear that Dr. Who's show on."
"Just a minute," Blazing called. His eyes found the stairs. He motioned Chocolate to go up the stairs, which she did. When she was out of sight, Blazing took a calming breath and walked to the door. He opened the door and found Rainbow glaring at him, her front hooves folded.
Hey Dash, what have you been up to, Stripes?"
she interrupted. Blazing's ears drooped. "What do you mean, Dash?" he asked with a weak smile.
"I haven't seen you in the air lately. You don't go to the edge of town to stretch and do wing-ups. And yesterday when I saw you sneaking around town, you totally tried to avoid me. I want to know what's going on," she finished, slamming a hoof on the ground.
Blazing smiled weakly, his eyes darting side to side. "Nothing's going on."
"Don't give me that there's nothing going on deal. I know you, Stripes. You never skip out on working out, and you never hide from me when we could be racing or trading stories, unless you have something to hide."
"Hide? I'm not hiding anything." Dash raised an eyebrow. Her eyes looked past Blazing to the couch in the room. She pushed her way past him, nearly making him fall. Blazing regained his balance and found Dash pointing a hoof at the mugs of hot chocolate sitting on the coffee table next to the couch.
"Why do you have 2 mugs half full of hot chocolate sitting here? You only need 1.
Blazing looked at the mugs and back at Dash. He then let his head drop and sighed. "Okay, you got me," he said. "I had a new friend over, and we had some hot chocolate together." Dash's expression softened, yet remained serious.
"A new friend?"
Dash asked.
"You've been avoiding me this whole time because of a new friend?"
Blazing nodded, looking up at his friend's face. Dash smiled mischievously.
"Is it a mare or a stallion?" she asked.
Mare," Blazing replied. Dash's smile increased.
"How far have you gotten with her?"
she asked, slowly walking up to him. Blazing backed up, his cheeks flushing red as sweat started down his brow. He started to open his mouth to answer, but he stopped to find Dash rolling on the floor laughing.
"Oh man, you're so easy, Stripes. The look on your face was priceless."
The cyan mare continued to laugh while Blazing glared at her. She looked at him, wiping a tear with her hoof.
"Relax, Stripes, I was only kidding."
She got to her hoof, still laughing a bit.
"So when do I get to see her?"
Blazing's eyes shot open. Choco was a changeling, and he did not want Dash, or any pony for that matter, to know he was taking care of a changeling, let alone letting her sleep in his house. The worst part is, he knew this moment was coming, and he made no effort to prepare for it. He said, scratching the back of his neck. You can see her tomorrow," he said finally.
"Great,"
Dash said, with a smile on her face.
"I can't wait."
With that, Dash trotted past Blazing out the front door. "See you tomorrow, then," he said, smiling sheepishly. She took off into the air and flew into the clouds. When she was out of sight, Blazing closed the door, letting out a sigh of relief. He turned around to find Chocolate standing right behind him, glaring at him. He jumped when he saw her. He did not hear her coming back downstairs, so her appearance was a shock.
"You can see her tomorrow," she stated. "Do you think for 1 minute she will like the fact you have a changeling as a friend?"
"No, she won't," he admitted.
"Then just how in the world do you expect her to see me at all?"
"You're a changeling," he replied. "You can make yourself look like a pony, and no pony will ever know that you're a changeling."
"You think I don't already know this?" she countered. "I wouldn't have a problem with your plan, but have you seen my condition?"
"Your wounds are nearly healed from Sakura's herbs. It's been over a week since I found you in the forest. You should at least be able to change your shape by now."
"Even if you're right, what do you expect me to change into? Not Rainbow Dash, or any of her friends, or even your first love. You've told every pony about her and what happened.
Blazing's ears dropped at the mention of Waterweight, his eyes watering up. Chocolate blinked. She had forgotten how sensitive he was, especially about close friends. Blazing let his head drop as he walked to the couch.
Blazing, I'm sorry,
Chocolate said, her voice more soft and pony-like.
I didn't mean...
It's okay, he interrupted her. Chocolate walked up to Blazing and took his hoof in hers. He looked up at her, tears falling down his face.
How can we pull this off?
She asked. Blazing smiled at her, using his spare hoof to wipe his face. He got to his hooves and walked up to all the pictures on the shelves. He took two and brought them to the coffee table and sat them side by side. One was him standing next to the captain of the Wonderbolts, Spitfire, and the other was a brown earth pony mare with a blonde mane. Why not try to do a brown Pegasus? A Pegasus so you and I can fly around, and brown because it's the color of hot chocolate. She looked up at him with concern.
I don't know, Blazing, she said. Changing into a non-existent pony is harder than changing to one that's real.
Just give it a try, a brown Pegasus mare with a golden mane.
And what about the cutie mark?
Blazing blinked. He did not think about coming up with a cutie mark. Cutie marks are very special things that symbolize one's special talent. Blazing looked at his cutie mark, the red wing bursting into flame showing his skill in flying. He looked back at Chocolate. What is something you're really good at? Chocolate looked down at the table. She thought about it for a few minutes before looking at Blazing.
I don't know, she replied. I can tell when ponies are in love, but that's something all changelings can do. It helps us know who to change into so we can feed off love.
She blinked.
Speaking of which...
Blazing tilted his head. After a few seconds, he realized what she meant.
Oh,
He scratched the back of his head. She looked up at him and saw the nervousness in his face.
Don't worry, she reassured him. This town is full of love. Every pony loves each other in some way. If this works, it'll be enough to sustain me.
Blazing let out a sigh. Then his eyes shot open and he ran up to the stairs. After a few minutes, he came back with a book. He sat down beside Chocolate and opened the book, flipping the pages until he came to a page filled with heart-shaped cutie marks with descriptions. You can have a heart for a cutie mark, he said. She eyeballed him with a half-smile, looking at him like he was crazy. There are ponies who can tell when other ponies are in love from miles away, and they have heart cutie marks. Chocolate looked down at the book. After looking at the pages for a minute, she looked up at Blazing with a smile.
I have an idea.
The next day, Blazing was at his usual place on the edge of town. He was doing his usual workout while a brown Pegasus mare with a golden mane and tail and a golden heart-shaped cutie mark watched him. It was not long before Rainbow came flying in, leaving a trail of bright colors behind her. She flapped her wings down, pulling herself to a stop just before hitting the ground, causing some dust to kick up. The chocolate brown mare used her wings to blow the dust away from her, and Rainbow looked at Blazing, who was doing his wing-ups.
Hey, Stripes,
she said, hoof bumping him. Blazing gave her one quick glare and started to protest about his nickname, but stopped himself. Dash then looked over to the brown mare and smiled.
Are you Stripes' new friend?
She asked.
Yes, I'm Chocolate. Blaze told me a lot about you.
Dash smiled, sticking her chest out and pointing a hoof at herself.
Who can blame him? I'm the best flyer in Equestria, after all.
Blazing rolled his eyes, shaking his head. Chocolate laughed at the two.
You two make a good couple, she said.
Blazing blinked at the statement while Dash just shrugged.
Nah,
Dash said as she turned her nose up.
He's too soft for my awesomeness.
Chocolate let out another fit of giggles while Blazing's cheeks started to flush red. The three Pegasi spent the rest of the morning together racing around town and every now and again stopping for a snack. The bell rang 2 o'clock, and Dash cursed herself.
Horse feathers, I gotta go.
She began to fly towards Sugar Cube Corner. Why? Blazing called. You gotta do some pranking with Pinky, or do you got a hot date? Rainbow stopped and shot a glare at Blazing. I'll get you later, her eyes told him. He just laughed, and Dash resumed her flight.
She does have a date, you know,
Chocolate said. Blazing looked at her with a mischievous smile. I know. I figured it out some time ago. She threatened to rip my feathers out if I told any pony about it. Blazing fought back the urge to laugh.
Have you told any pony?
No, but I thought about it several times. Blazing's snickering started to make him tear.
Why haven't you?
Blazing stopped laughing. Are you kidding? I would hate it if some pony told others about my secret love life. Chocolate smiled at him. Come on, I'll introduce you to every pony else. Blazing first took Chocolate to Sweet Apple Acres to meet the Apple family. Big Mac was out plowing the fields while Applejack was bucking the apple trees. Applejack took a moment to introduce herself while shaking Chocolate's hoof. When Blazing introduced Big Mac, he confirmed with a simple, "Yup." Then a young cream-colored filly with a red mane came running up.
Hey, Blazing,
She called out. Apple Bloom ran up and hugged Blazing's leg, then looked up at the new mare.
Who's this?
Blazing looked at Chocolate with a smile. Apple Bloom, he said. This is Chocolate. She's a friend of mine from where I lived in Canterlot, and will be staying at my house for a while.
Hi, Chocolate.
Apple Bloom chirped.
I'm Apple Bloom, founding member of the Cutie Mark Crusaders and AJ's little sister.
Nice to meet you, Apple Bloom, Chocolate said. What are the Cutie Mark Crusaders?
Me and my friends, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, gather together to find ours and others' cutie marks. We ain't found our cutie marks yet, but we ain't gonna give up either.
Chocolate smiled at the little filly.
Come on, Apple Bloom,
Said Applejack.
y'all got chores to do and Blazing still needs to show Chocolate around town. Sure thing, sis.
Apple Bloom replied, then ran off to the barn. She stopped and waved back at Chocolate and Blazing.
Bye, Blazing. Bye, Chocolate.
Blazing and Chocolate both waved back at the family, then flew off back to Ponyville. Activity in Ponyville was now couples on dates at dinners and other evening activities. Blazing thought about stopping at one of the restaurants for some dinner with Chocolate, but he did not for a few reasons. First, he wanted to introduce Chocolate to the rest of his friends, and he did not want to get too comfortable with her just yet. She was a changeling, and she could turn around at any time to attack Ponyville, or find the other changelings and bring them back to destroy Ponyville. He was taking enough risks just letting her stay in his guest room. His train of thought was interrupted when a gray Pegasus with a blonde mare fell from the sky onto Blazing.
Oops, my bad.
She said as Blazing looked up to see it was Ditsy Doo. Blazing helped the derp-eyed mare to her hooves. It's okay, Ditsy. After brushing the dirt off the both of them, he turned to face Chocolate. Chocolate? He pointed a hoof to Ditsy. This is Ditsy Doo. She's a little slow, but she's very sweet, and she has a daughter. Chocolate smiled at Ditsy, but her smile soon died when she saw Ditsy's eyes were not looking in the same direction. She opened her mouth to say something, but bit her bottom lip. Speaking of which, Blazing said, looking back at Ditsy, how is Dinky? Ditsy's eyes lit up. She's doing great, Ditsy replied. Her voice was a little deep and slurred. She's at her friend's house right now and having fun. Good, Blazing said with a smile. Tell her I said hi. Ditsy nodded with a smile, then took off, wobbling a little as she flew. Blazing gave a smile of both happiness and sadness, of which Chocolate noticed. Blaze? She said. He turned his gaze to her. Is she... Blazing raised his hoof to stop her. They looked at each other for a minute. She has always been a little... different, he said. My oldest friend, Spark, would be able to tell you more about her than I can. But ever since I've lived in Ponyville, I always showed kindness to her. You could have been her lover, Chocolate stated. Blazing's eyes sparkled with tears. You wanted to be, didn't you? A tear slid down Blazing's cheek. I never told her anything, but I did care for her so much. As though he read what the next question was, he continued. I never said anything, because I knew she loved somebody else. She wouldn't say anything, but I could see it in her eyes. So I just stayed away. Chocolate looked both confused, yet satisfied with his conclusion. After a minute, Blazing continued to lead Chocolate to the Carousel boutique. The store sign on the door read closed, which was a little odd because it was not even 4 o'clock yet. Blazing knocked on the door to see if any pony was inside. Blazing heard some talking from inside, followed by hoofsteps coming to the door. The door opened to a small young white filly. Blazing! Sweetie Belle cried out, jumping up and giving him a hug. Blazing laughed at the unexpected welcome, returning the hug. All the noise brought Rarity from the back room to see what was going on. Oh, Blazing, she said, a look of both shock and pleasure to see Blazing's unexpected visit. Blazing looked up at the white mare, smiling. Hey, Rarity, he said. What brings you here, darling? Blazing smiled as he looked over to Chocolate standing just outside the door. And who is this? Rarity asked with a smile on her face, which quickly switched from welcoming to pure shock. Brace yourself, Blazing told Chocolate. She looked at him, about to ask what for, but the words never left her lips as Rarity darted around the room, cleaning up any and every item that was not where it belonged. A good 2 minutes and a few streaks of white and a purple dashing from here to there later, Rarity walked up to the front door panting. That, Blazing said. Chocolate's jaw was dropped nearly to the ground. Sorry about that, Rarity apologized. She then met her gaze to Blazing with a hint of annoyance. Why didn't you tell me you were bringing a friend over? I would have had the place cleaned before you got here. Sorry, Blazing replied with a sheepish smile. I was just showing my friend Chocolate around town. She'll be staying at my house for a while. Rarity turned her gaze to Chocolate with a welcoming smile. "Well then, welcome to Ponyville. I'm Rarity," she said, pointing a hoof at herself, then pointing her hoof at Sweetie Belle. "And this is my little sister, Sweetie Belle." "Hi," Sweetie Belle chirped, while waving a hoof. "Are you Blazing's very special sun pony?" she asked. Blazing smiled sheepishly as he felt his cheeks burn. Chocolate giggled at his reaction to the question. "No, Sweetie Belle. I'm just an old friend from Canterlot," she lied. Blazing then looked at Rarity, whose eyes shot wide open. He started to warn Chocolate to prepare for the next Rarity spaz-out moment, but it was too late. "Canterlot?" Chocolate and Sweetie Belle jumped at the mare's scream, while Blazing flinched, his ears folding back. "Oh, how wonderful! You simply must tell me everything about yourself, darling." "Maybe another time," Blazing interrupted. "I still need to show her around town, and it's getting late." Rarity let out a pout to Blazing's intervention. "Sorry, Rarity, but I need to be going." Of course, the real reason he was in a hurry to get away from Rarity was because he did not want to spend much time without a full story to tell about who and what Chocolate is. Blazing took off to show Chocolate the rest of the town, both waving bye to the two unicorns. Blazing and Chocolate were almost back at the house before they were stopped by an orange filly. "Hey, Blazing," Scootaloo said, making Blazing and Chocolate jump at her sudden appearance. "Who's your friend?" she asked, looking at Chocolate. Blazing smiled at the little filly. "Hey, Scootaloo," he replied. "This is my old friend Chocolate. She'll be staying at my house while she stays in Ponyville." "Cool! Is she your very special sun pony?" Blazing's cheeks flushed red at the mention, which Chocolate laughed at. Applebloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo all wanted Blazing to have a very special sun pony, but Applebloom was less enthusiastic about it since the last Hearts and Hooves date. "She's just a friend, Scootaloo." Scootaloo and Chocolate smirked at each other. Chocolate turned to face Blazing. "Would you like me to be your very special sun pony?" she asked. His cheeks were burning red now. Both the mares started laughing at his embarrassment. The three spent the next several minutes enjoying each other's company. Then Scootaloo rode off on her scooter, while Blazing and Chocolate went back to the house. End of Chapter 3.